Welcome to video number 2 on my sharing on YouTube here. I know I don't have a whole bunch of spectacular effects. I don't have any like cool little title stuff written around. I'm rather simple. If you're interested, I'm happy to share and maybe help guide you a little bit in the right direction towards coming to your own understanding of what alchemy means to you. But I'll never force anybody into anything, and so far as I've found, the majority of people don't believe it's possible, and especially if they've had any scientific education, they just kind of laugh you out of the room. If they stuck around long enough to hear you say more than half your first sentence, the puffers. And I didn't expect that. For some reason, I thought that they would want to know more. They would want to learn more and expand. But it turns out that most of the people that speak about the subject, at least as I've found here on this particular broadcasting medium, they don't actually believe in alchemy. And I've been fascinated by that. And to have people that are so well informed on the subject really just laugh when it comes down to whether or not it's real. I'm one of those people that do believe it's real. And I also am one of those people that, until I've tried it for myself, then I won't tell you it's impossible. And even if I didn't succeed, I wouldn't say it wasn't impossible for you. But you never know. You have no idea what life has for you in store, and especially in this particular science. I wasn't, well, I mean, everybody wants to be a wizard, or at least I did when I was a kid. As far as that goes, sure, I've always wanted to be an alchemist, but I wasn't pursuing the subject. I was pursuing things that I loved: gold mining, understanding minerals, collecting rocks, and hiking in the mountains, and just learning to love life and understand the universe as best as I can figure it out. And that's been the journey, The journey of the alchemist kind of fell in my lap. And like I mentioned in my last video, my friend Isis, she told me I really needed to read this book really bad. And so after reading it, being a gold miner and understanding the processes necessary for refining gold using chemical methods, it opened my eyes to see some of what was going on there. And so it began this journey of understanding. And it's been several years now since the first time I read the book, and my understanding has grown beyond fathoming. Like, from the first day till now is just unbelievable. But like, it's all, the challenge is not really in the difficulty of the process, it's in the difficulty of understanding the hieroglyphs as a as Fulcanelli says in his book, Mystery of the Cathedrals. And it's definitely, I mean, they don't call it the task of Hercules for nothing. And for those of you that have embarked upon the journey through the labyrinth, you understand it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. And most people that take that path don't get rich. There's a lot of many have tried and few have succeeded. But that's the journey of the alchemist. That's the journey through life and understanding. And we all have our dark night of the soul, our mortification, our fermentation. And we all have our fixations and our rebirths into a new us, a new form. And then once again we become dissolved and re-mortified again. Every time you think you're finally done, you get mortified again, and you realize how much further you have to go, and that's the cycle of life. And life, all of life, animal, vegetable, and mineral life, all follow that same cycle, that same process. The mystery of the cathedrals, when he starts getting into the allegories, the plates of the work, he starts with Isis. And Isis, she's really goes by so many names. I mean, and the Egyptians called her Isis, but she's the mother. She's the Gaia. She's the source of all things that are alive on earth. Everything that has form was born from the mother. And Isis, she has three faces. She has a young face, and like a youthful face and an old face. It's the maiden, the mother, and the crone are the three faces of Isis. And she always wears a veil, and she's always found in the dark. And it's from this substance represented by this deity that all of matter is formed. And so she's the first substance. The larger portion of alchemists don't spend any time on this, or they'll leave it out altogether, or they'll kind of skim over it really quickly. Flamel, he says, just in the beginning, he simply states, if you don't know the first substance, then this book won't help you. And then he goes on to talk about everything else. So he just skips Isis altogether, and because he doesn't want to give it away, but he wants to share it for those who understand and have been initiated. But it's through Isis that the initiation comes, and understanding what she represents. And in alchemy, the body of the thing and the head of the thing, like oftentimes the heads will be interchanged on different bodies and stuff like that. And so for Isis to have three faces on one head means that there's three manifestations of the substance. The first one being the maiden, symbolized by white, and the dove, which you see in weddings even today. The bride walks down the aisle, doves flying out, and she's wearing a white dress, and that's the maiden. That's the same symbol that's been used for thousands of years for the maiden. But after the wedding, then she becomes the mother, and then her children are born, and those are the ingredients of the work. And the different stories, the different allegories, there's so many different depictions, and even today there's modern day depictions of these same processes, like it's found, it's our culture, like worldwide, every culture in the world is saturated in this knowledge, and it's like literally in front of their faces and they can't see it. And today, like Game of Thrones, Puss in Boots are just a couple of the modern day examples of the allegory of this process being placed in front of you and told to you over and over again, from the time that you're a little kid until the time you're an adult. You're watching the same story happen over and over and over again. And that's the marvel of this story they call the never-ending story, because every culture in the world tells this story. It's like somebody wrote a script for a movie 1 billion years ago, and every culture on the planet since then has remade that movie over and over and over again. They've remade that movie. The storyline doesn't change. The only thing that changes are the names of the characters. The colors don't change. It's just simply different names of the characters. And so you look, every culture in the world like has this same narrative happening over and over and over and over again. And once you begin to see how much a part of our lives it already is, it's gonna blow you away, because it's literally everywhere you look, and you can't escape it. It's a part of who we are, because it's literally the story of the gods, and it's the story of Hercules. And when you decide to embark upon this journey for yourself, you're joining those same characters once again in that same story, because you have to go through all the same challenges that they went through to discover for yourself the golden fleece, or the staff, or the rod, the trident of Atlanta. The crone is the final form of the substance, and it's the maturing. That stage in the work is usually, or not usually, but often referred to as evolution, the moving forward, the aging. Scientifically, it would be referred to as decay. As a one metal over time can decay into another. But according to the scientific charts, it takes millions and billions and trillions of years, depending on what kind of metal it is. From the mother, you end up with 2 sets of twins. The first set of twins are from the family of the lion. second set of twins are from the family of the green lion. And so the family of the red lion is most often portrayed as the family of the king. The colors will be red and gold for them. And the green lion, like Tristan of Lioness, he would be the family of the green lion. And these two twin substances, they are twins together, and they're also twins of each other in that not only is the process of each of the substances similar in how they're born through the mother, but they're born out as polar opposites of each other. And so the red lion and the green lion are often portrayed as fighting children, because they're polarized against each other. And so when the two come together, there's a battle. And that battle is always portrayed as a battle between dissimilar substances or creatures. The eagle and the lion, the salamander and the remora, or the dragons fighting each other. The allegories, although the animals can be interchangeable, the concept is always the same. It's a portrayal of two opposites, two opposing forces of nature coming together in the way that you would, like baking soda and vinegar are opposites. When you mix them together, there's a battle. And that battle has a reaction, and the reaction creates foam, which you can use for all kinds of fun scientific experiments as a kid. And so what they're portraying with all these multiple battles is a union of dissimilar elements. And when dissimilar elements are conjoined together, there's a reaction that results in a neutralization. When you add the baking soda to the vinegar, it reacts, but the acid being neutralized by the base loses its acidity. And this loss of acidity, or activity as it's often called, is what they call mortification. The life of the substance has died. It's been mortified. And so after this initial battle of the two opposing substances, you have the mortification. And the mortification is the dark night of the soul. It's the primordial chaos, because all of this elements have been mixed together, but they're not necessarily bound together at that point. It's chaotic. Things are becoming organized, but not yet, because it takes a catalyst. It takes the sperm for the egg, for the cell to organize itself and divide. And so once the mortification happens, there has to be a time of fertilization, fermentation, and allowing that new seed of life that's come together with the union of the opposing forces to develop. And once they are connected, they're loosely bound together at first, then it goes through fixation. The fixation has many, many, many allegories, and the lake of fire. It's like a time of great trial and testing of your faith and your mettle. They say, and so these allegories they reflect our lives in so many ways that it quickly becomes the template of the stories. Like you have the king and the queen, and you have the one who mediates their coming together, and you have the unions of male and female, the conjunction battles between all the different forces of good and evil, and try not to stray too far down the rabbit holes here, but in the practical application of these things, beginning to see these allegories as a template for a chemical process is key, because not only is it describing to you the nature of your being, the nature of your mind, body, and spirit, the nature of life around you, but also the nature of life itself and how life comes into being. Because this template, this cyclical process, it's how all things that have form, everything that you can see and anywhere, if it has form, it was born through this process. And so it not only applies to metals, minerals, and psyche, but it also applies to the animal and vegetable world too. And so you get all these alchemists creating crazy conjunctions of things, and because once you understand how nature operates, her laws are universal. The laws of nature in biology are the same as the laws of nature in mineralogy. And so that's the missing link in modern science between the sciences, is that they don't realize that everything that has form is alive. And so it replicates itself in the same way that everything else that's alive replicates itself. When humans have embryo, ovum and sperm, and when they come together, there's a catalytic, the reaction happens, the cell divides, and then another human is born. Plants, they send out seed or spores, and then when they come together, another tree is born. And all of nature, all of creation, everything that's alive, everything that has form is alive. And that's the misunderstanding. Rocks and metals, just because they are less animated doesn't make them any less alive, because the seed, the essence of life in the stone, is the same essence of life in you, and without it, neither one of us would have form. And so understanding the process is understanding life, understanding nature, understanding matter, all matter, not just silver and gold. Silver and gold are literally the least of the possibilities when it comes to understanding matter. And the journey to understanding, just the beginning of the understanding of the hieroglyphs themselves, is long and frustrating. And one of the biggest clues for the first of the twins. Oh, find me up all night. There is I'll see if I can quote it. It's from Fulcanelli, Mystery of the Cathedrals, and it's talking about this particular substance. It's one of the riddles that you have to solve in order to find the substance. And he says, I might not quote it perfectly, but to find this substance, you must go to the ends of the earth. And when you hear the wind blow and the rain fall and the lightning and the thunder crash, there you will find the substance if you are looking for it. What could that substance be? A substance born in a lightning storm. What kind of substances are born in lightning storms? There's a few that I can think of off the top of my head. And the riddles themselves, once, like every riddle, once you know the answer, it's like, it seems really obvious. But the how do you describe that? Essentially, this substance is the allegory of the hollow oak tree with the spring coming out underneath of it. And he describes it as water used for your garden that's better than regular water. And so the allegories, I love them. Like, he does such a good job with the allegories, and the trick to laying them out properly is to separate them from each other, so that you can focus just on the riddles that apply to that one hieroglyph. What is he trying to say? And you have to remember that when he gives you these different riddles, the answer to all of the riddles is the same. And so he gives you several different riddles that each are all the answer to the hieroglyph, to the pictograph. And so you don't have to solve all of the riddles that he gives you in order to solve the pictograph. You only have to solve one of them. And as soon as you solve one of them, you'll instantly understand them all. And you'll understand the pictograph. And so it's a progressive thing. You work to understand the first one. And for me, I didn't really begin to get any kind of decent grasp on the situation until I had read the book at least 100 times. And I'm not joking, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm literally saying it was at least 100 times. And the book's, if you put it on audiobook, it's 7 hours long. And so you can't it's not something you can be like, gee, I think I might spend 5 or 10 minutes a day trying to understand this book. No, I bent every thought, every part of my being. I saturated myself in the book all day long, and then I would play certain parts of it over and over and over and over and over, and then read other books too, so that you can get a bigger, broader picture of what they're saying. And even in the Emerald Tablets, Hermes says, he says, you're not going to even start to understand this book until you've read it for the 100th time. And he's being literal in that. This kind of knowledge is like, you can read the book 1,000 times and still find something new the 1,001 time that you read it. And so it's a question of how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Flamel, he said that from the time that the old man gave him the first real clues to understanding the hieroglyphs to the time that he finally made his first real product was 3 years. And he was given the first couple of hieroglyphs to begin with, which is the opening of the door, the first key to get. Once you have the first key, then you're on your way, because every step works off of the next step, the previous step before it. It's a matter of soaking in as many real and that's the challenge, real writers on the subject as you can. And don't listen to the puffers. The puffers they'll reprint a book to make money off of reprinting it. And they'll put a page in the book telling you that the book, don't believe it. Or they'll, it's like, before they give you a book that tells you how to do a chemical process, they make an announcement at the beginning. By the way, as I'm talking, first you need to understand that everything in this book is bullshit, and so you have to approach it from the point of it being bullshit in order to enjoy reading it. And well, if you approach a book as if it were bullshit the first time you read it, the chances of you learning anything from it are pretty slim, even if it had something in it for you to learn. Because if you're reading it as if it were bullshit, you're not in the mode of receiving. You're in the mode of entertainment. And you're not gonna learn anything that way. If you want to learn anything from these writings, you first have to have faith enough to try. And not only try, but to invest a part of yourself into the understanding of the work. And if you're not willing to do that, then there's no way you'll ever succeed in the work, because once you start it it will envelop everything you do. Like, it's not a process that you're done in a couple of days. Like, oh gee, I think I'll go make a philosopher's stone today, and next week you've got one. No. You're talking about mimicking a process that in nature takes 500,000 years per cycle, and you need to do 8 cycles. And so if you expect to do a process that naturally takes 4 million years and you want to do it in a week, then forget it. Don't even try, because it's never going to happen. Patience is the ladder of the alchemist. And in nature, there's no rush to get things done right away. Like, nature has all the time that there is. She can take 500,000 years to grow a ruby if she wants to, or she can do it in a year if she wants to. But it's entirely dependent on circumstances. If the right conjunction of circumstances in nature arise, it's possible for a ruby to be born in a year, or for lead to turn into gold in a year. But there has to be the right circumstances, because normally it's going to take like 4 million years. So patience. You have to be willing to be patient, and you have to be willing to sacrifice, because there's nothing worth anything. There's nothing worth having. There's nothing worth investing your time into that isn't going to cost you. And if you're expecting to make the Philosopher's Stone and not have it cost you, you're talking about a thing that will produce potentially unlimited wealth for the rest of your life. It's going to cost you your blood, sweat, and tears to see if you're willing and ready and able to possess that thing. And so the first blood, sweat, and tears, the tasks of Hercules, is the deciphering of the hieroglyphs, the translation of the language into understanding. And it's not going to come easy, but I don't believe in saying it's impossible until I've tried it myself. And so the journey goes, another cycle in history continues as, another person takes the journey down the labyrinth, and